lion face, lemming face.
Welcome on into the show. My name is Deny Gallagher, and I am joined by the snare campaign provocateur, my Mr. Meisner himself, the great actor over here. It's Benny Horowitz. What's up?
That's right. My acting, I've been in 2 music videos. Who's putting me in films? Come on. I'm ready.
I see you looking at me. I see you
I'm
looking
ready.
at me, knowing
Benny, you're
knowing
making a
what's coming down
film.
the pike.
I haven't gotten a call about being in it yet. You got a henchman or something for me?
Oh,
Come on.
maybe. How about a cop?
Fine.
Maybe. Yeah.
Fine.
You got.
Fine.
I love it. But
I've
what's
met a
up
lot
with
of
you,
cops.
dude? Yeah, no.
I think I know how to
100%.
play it. I don't. You're not allowed to have this hair as a deep undercover, perhaps.
Oh, maybe.
I'm like
Perhaps.
Serpico.
Well, NYPD Blue action.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
What's going on with you, though? How is the holiday season treating you in the Horowitz household?
Love it. Frantic, crazy. My lucky kids get Hanukkah and Christmas. So as usual, Hanukkah Harry had a lot of fun. I took care of all of it. And then I look up and I'm like, oh, fuck, Christmas. It's like 3 days away.
Yeah.
God damn it. So, it's a lot. But I think now that I've when I first when I first met my then girlfriend and wife and started doing this stuff, it's the first time in my life I've done Christmas.
Yeah.
Woken up, fucking tree, the presents, 3 or 4 days of family, just doing a whole bunch of shit. I didn't know anything about this. So I think it took me a minute to get used to. Now I know what's coming, mentally prepared, ready to go, going to enjoy the food and just have a nice time with it. How's yours going? You good?
It's going good. By the way, I saw that your wife posted you making the latkes last week.
Aunt Sadie's latkes. I make them every year.
You a applesauce guy on that front?
You know what? I'm fucking crazy, dude. I do both.
Oh,
give me the cream.
Nasty.
Give me
nasty.
together. Not together. Like I'll take 4 latkes. Give me 2 sour creams, 2 applesauce. Why you got to choose one?
I know.
I went and read the book to a class full of little white kids. It was fun.
Well, the great thing about this podcast is you don't have to choose just one, and that happens each and every week when we do This Day in Music History. What do you got going on today?
Very nice one. Very nice seg, my friend. In this day in 1958, the Chipmunks song hits #1 on the Hot 100 list. Okay, now this may seem insignificant, but I'm going to ask you the question. What is the last Christmas song to ever top the top 100 charts?
Doesn't happen every year. The last Christmas song ever top. Isn't it like Rocking Around the Christmas Tree? Because I think Brenda Lee gets that money every single year.
Well, this is why I tease you off for this. The last one was 1958, the Chipmunk song.
That can't be.
There has not been a #1 Christmas song since the Chipmunks topped the charts. They are still there. They're still the reigning champions of #1 Christmas songs is the Chipmunks.
You're meaning to tell me Mariah never got to #1?
I was surprised too. I think maybe this is a credit to the fact that from 1958 to when Mariah did it, what are we talking? 2000s or something?
Yeah.
I think there was probably a lot more charts.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the thing? Was there holiday charts by then?
Maybe.
Is there a separate holiday chart? So, I don't know how much so are the Chipmunks a paper champion is what you're telling me?
Maybe. And I'm also not sure how true the facts you just brought me are, because This Day in Music History, on this day in 2019, Mariah Carey topped the U.S. Billboard Hot 100, which may be different than the chart that you're talking about with All I Want for Christmas Is You. 25, for the first time, took 25 years after the first release for Mariah to go #1 on the Hot 100 charts. With estimated sales over 60 million copies, All I Want for Christmas Is You is the best-selling holiday song by a female artist, which I don't know. I guess the Chipmunks, male artists, female artists, non-binary artists. I'm not sure where we're going here.
Chipmunks, yeah, non-binary. No, this is weird. So, Denny, I think what we're learning is something really critical to know. The internet is sometimes wrong.
Yeah.
So listen,
Or
tune up guess.
yeah.
I have a thing right here on the internet that says the Chipmunk song hits #1 on the Hot 100. The last Christmas song to ever top the chart. It would be the last Christmas song to hit #1 in the US. And remarkably, it stays at the top of the chart for 3 more weeks, well into January. So we have countering information. Tune up audience. Please let us know. Do some deep. Maybe start a fucking Reddit thread or whatever you people do out there. Let's get to the bottom of this,
Or this is just great misinformation by Universal, because I'm pretty sure they released both songs and they just had a stranglehold on Christmas for 50
They
years.
just want the tune up talking about it.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's
Get the
right.
conversation going. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, and this is to tease something coming up later in the show.
Yeah.
If you want the tune up to talk about something, give us a Jake Gyllenhaal Roadhouse teaser a few days before Christmas.
Oh,
but you know what was a real tease, Benny?
No.
This entire Yamamoto situation with the
goodness
New York Yankees.
gracious.
And we got to get into this because overnight, coming into this Friday, Japanese star Yoshinobu Yamamoto and the Los Angeles Dodgers got into agreement on a 12-year, $325 million contract. This was told to ESPN on Thursday, ending frenzied speculation. Now, you may be thinking, didn't the Dodgers just go out and get Ohtani and deferred a bunch of money? You got that right. But Yamamoto's deal is straight up $56 million signing fee plus his annual salary. No deferred money on the Yamamoto deal, but no doubt that the Ohtani deferring his money was why that the Dodgers were able to do this. So just initial thoughts on fit, and then we'll get into the rest of the stuff.
This was a tough one because I was emotionally invested. Okay. After Ohtani went to the Dodgers, I mean, it seemed pretty clear after a while that was looking like Angels or the Dodgers. And, who blames them? Who wants to leave? It's a nice place. I get it. You get all that money. So Ohtani's there. But then they make the trade for Tyler Glasnow. Re-sign him to, I believe, a 5-year, $135, $140 million contract. And I go, okay, Dodgers are done, I guess, right? Like that's a lot. Doing Ohtani and that, they bulked it up. But then I'm still looking at the back end of their starting five. And after Bobby Miller, I'm like, meh, you got Walker Buehler coming back from Tommy John surgery. Of course, not a sure thing, even though, very talented pitcher. And they did still need depth. So, I mean, what's wild about this is, and this is where people are going to quickly go. It's one of the hilarious things about fandom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is let's say, New York Mets, New York Yankees, San Francisco Giants, Chicago Cubs, maybe list the Phillies, a couple other teams, all really, really, really wanted this guy, right? And everybody seemingly ponied up upwards of $275 and $300 million in their offers. So what's going to be hilarious is now people quickly going, well, he's never thrown a pitch in the major leagues and you just gave him $325 million. I don't know. Glad it's not on my books, and it's going to happen fast. I even did it to myself. In the thinking of like, oh, I really wanted this guy. How can I justify the fact that we didn't get him? And it does seem like, like the Yankees were like fully in the running till the very end. I had a feeling that they had a better chance than the Mets, essentially just on a track record of winning, even though the Mets could give more money. I think this guy really, from all accounts of Yamamoto, seemingly is just somebody who wants to win. So then you were really thinking Yankees or Dodgers. And I had it on some inside authority, Denny, inside authority, that the Yankees really thought they had a good chance on this. Like this wasn't, this was certainly down to the wire and the Yankees were definitely in the running. So what do I think about it? I mean, it's hard to judge. I'm not a baseball scout. I don't scout Japanese baseball. It's hard for me to understand the exact, turnover between the two things. But you did just pay this guy $1 million more than Garrett Cole, which is frontline ace #1 money. there is a substantial track record of successful Japanese and Korean pitchers coming over and doing very well and having long careers. There is not a track record of them being like frontline number one starters over the course of a 10-year contract. And not to say that Yamamoto can't be the first, but it's risky, of course, like anything is when you're shelling out $325 million, but it's what you had to do to get him. And now the Dodgers, $1 billion later, have the two biggest coveted free agents. And, where does this set them up now, right? How many World Series, let me ask you this question, the next 10 years between the Ohtani contracts, Yamamoto contracts, how many World Series do you have to appear in and win for this to be considered a success?
You have to get 4 for this to be a success. If you're spending $1 billion and you don't take at least 40% of the World Series in that decade, it's kind of a failure, which is incredible standards to have to live up to.
Yeah, no shit. 4. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard winning a World Series, and we've seen this before with just these like, top loaded teams. And, the Dodgers have come close. Let's not forget that they're adding all these players to a core of Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, 2 of the top 10 hitters already in baseball. Does this are the Dodgers the new evil empire?
Oh, 100%.
Like 100%. I mean, and this is one good thing for baseball, isn't it? This was good when the Yankees were that good. Everyone hated the Yankees. Anytime the Yankees were in town, there was just this fervor of like, yo, let's take down these fucking assholes who just outspend us, take out all the money. You know what I mean? Like, and now the Dodgers are this like, I kind of like the fact that there's a team out there with a gigantic target on its back with the highest standards you could possibly get with a giant target on it back. I mean, that's good for baseball, isn't it?
And the thing that I love about this reemergence, because this isn't the first time the Dodgers have been some sort of evil empire. It's just the first time in most sports fans, modern sports fans' lifetime that this has kind of happened. Right. So to see this and, figuring out all like outsmarting the Yankees on like ways to like pocket money away and do all of that stuff, I love it. I also, and we're talking about this. We led with this today. This is so good for the sport. This is it wakens up the Dodger fans are passionate, but I think to grab attention in LA, big win for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, 100%. And just to be clear, I did misspeak at some point. I believe I said it was a 10-year, $325 million contract. It is a 12-year, $325 million contract, which does keep them, on the hook for longer, but also does bring Yamamoto's annual average down to $27 million, which is less than Cole's, Verlander, DeGrom, Scherzer.
It's less than James Harden.
Significantly. I mean, listen, Dame Lillard gets paid twice as much as Yamamoto is going to make through his career. But yeah. So I don't know, if you asked me 12 hours ago, I was nothing but super optimistic about this guy. Really excited for him to come over. From everything I see, the right makeup. I think I spoke about it a couple weeks ago. He's got this nice compact delivery. So even though he's a small guy, it's the kind of delivery where you see longevity, and I'm high on him. I think he's going to be a very good pitcher, but there's just that giant question mark, which is like, this is a person who has never pitched in the major leagues before. So it might be one of the biggest crapshoot contracts like we've ever seen, potentially.
And the interesting thing about the baseball postseason, because you can't win the World Series without the postseason.
No.
And the way that the modern manager, as the rulings come down from the front office on starting pitching, you're only getting this guy for like 5 or 6 innings. You're not going complete games anymore. So it's like you kind of in like the modern framework. Where does this kind of fit in? I'm not so sure.
Yeah. And then, this is also the reason you're seeing like almost every solid 7th, 8th, 9th inning guy in baseball getting, upwards of, 12 to $15 million a year because of what you're talking about. And that's something the Dodgers could certainly fortify as well. Like if there's anything you could look at on their squad right now, I would look into their bullpen to be like, how are you gonna finish games for these guys?
Yeah. But let's look a little closer to home. What's next for the Yanks? And then also another team. Yamamoto was allegedly at Steve Cohen's house doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
And now he doesn't get the guy. So what's next for the Mets as well?
Listen, I also just watched that Dirty Money movie where Vincent D'Onofrio did a great Steve Cohen impression. And if I'm not rooting against Steve Cohen fully after watching that film, I don't know who would. D'Onofrio, brilliant. He's great. But anyway, I think this puts the Yankees in an interesting spot. I mean, let's not forget that the Yankees have already traded a bevy of pitching depth to get Juan Soto. So, as I do think, and we already got Alex Verdugo. So, I think as far as the Yankees go, we're out on Bellinger. Got to be out on Bellinger, and got to be out on the big priced offensive guys, because I think that's been shored up enough, and you can do a little more towards the end of free agency. Now I really got to imagine that the Yankees are setting their sights on, one of Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery, one of these, the back tier guys who are still looking for deals and seemingly are going to get fucking paid a lot. Like, that's the one thing about the way this free agency is trickling out that's really going to change things is you're watching some teams who are dying to spend money, right?
Yeah.
Like the Mets and the Cubs and the Giants and the Phillies, Red Sox, Yankees, they are dying to spend money. Like, so that means you're going to get some of these middle tier free agents right now are going to get massive contracts, and there's going to be a bidding war for Blake Snell, even though he's, I think, only thrown over like 160 innings like once in his career. And, there's not too many surefire guys, but the Yanks certainly need to solidify the depth that they gave up when they traded for Soto. So I do think the Yankees are going to be right there in contention for almost every frontline starter that's still available.
And then what about in Queens? What the Mets last offseason spent a lot of money and then traded everybody at the deadline, or so to speak, and now they're kind of dipping their toe back in the big money area again.
I mean, I wonder with the Mets, because all indications at the end of last season were not that we're punting on this year, but they're not extending Alonso. You traded Verlander and Scherzer. You got some kids now coming up the pipe that look really good. And if you're looking at this team timeline wise, why would you spend 100, 200 million on frontline starter? Why would you so I have a feeling in a way that the Mets, Ohtani and Yamamoto are different stories, right? Those are generational type talents that you throw money at. Everyone throws money at. I mean, even, a billionaire like Steve Cohen, I'm pretty sure when someone like Yamamoto's in the running, it's more just like, yeah, I got my fucking money down the table too. Okay. Like, just as much as you. Like, if he wants to come here, it's not going to be money that's the problem.
Yeah.
And, so I think the offer will always be there for someone like that. But how seriously he ever wanted to come to the Mets, I'm not sure. So I do have I think the wise thing for the Mets to do is to not make huge free agency splashes right now. I think like the way you ended last season, you got to continue that trajectory and not throw, let's use the phrase, dumb money at at things that are there. So I think a lot of this is we're gonna see like go actually looks like, because if he starts dropping the bomb on some of these mid-tier free agent contracts, I really do think that's an ego thing. That's I missed out on all these other guys ego thing. But I do think it would be against the trajectory they started at the end of last season.
And let's not forget, David Stearns took over baseball operations for the Mets, came over from the Milwaukee
That's right.
Brewers.
Yeah.
And I was around that team like the first 2 years when he took over in Milwaukee. And a lot of those small deadline moves to try to get a team into contention and try to build up the farm system. That's how he did it here. And a lot of those guys panned out, but he's also not afraid to make like the, wow, that's a really smart trade. So that's, as we move forward into closer to spring training, stuff like that, I would not be surprised to see them make like the smaller moves to try to build this thing out.
Yeah, could see that.
All right, let's move on to the NBA now, shall we? And Benny, we have not talked enough on this podcast about the Detroit Pistons. They had a massive opportunity to end their losing streak. They were not able to do so as the Detroit Pistons were handed their 25th straight loss at the hand of the Utah Jazz. Kelly Olynyk went for 25 on Thursday night as they fell 119-111.
Former Detroit Piston, Kelly Olynyk.
That's right. Former Detroit Piston. Now, the record for this, as we talk about all-time skids in the NBA, the 2010-2011 Cleveland Cavaliers and 2013-2014 76ers share the record at 26. The 76ers hold the overall mark at 28. So before we even get into that game and what Cade Cunningham had to say, do you think that this Pistons team is on the level of that team, those teams, as being this bad?
You know, what's interesting, as like a kind of a, you know, an exercise, I went ahead and, you know, look at like the 2011 Cavs, right? What was going on with that team? And you look at this roster. I mean, I remember most of these guys because I'm a fucking nerd. But I mean, you're looking at Mo Williams and Varejao, Antoine Jameson when he's old, Boobie Gibson, Baron Davis at some weird stage of his career. Like, this was a really bad team. You know what I mean? Like, you don't look at that roster and go like, oh, that team should have won some games. You go ahead and look at the Pistons roster, and I'm seeing like Cade Cunningham, interesting young player, Jaden Ivey, interesting young player, Asar Thompson, who's looking like he's the part. Duran is solid when he's playing. Stewart is good. Bogdanovich, even though he doesn't want to be there, is still a good player. Yeah, Alec Burke sitting on the bench, like decent scorer. I'm not saying this is like a playoff team by any stretch of the imagination, but I do agree with Cade Cunningham. I saw his post-game his presser last night, and he's like, I don't think we're 2-27 bad. Like, I'm looking at the team and I kind of agree with him. And if we both agree on that fact, doesn't this fall on Monty Williams, the highest paid coach in the NBA?
A little bit.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, and I think that this was completely out of school when the Detroit Pistons fans were chanting, sell the team after the loss. But I'm really struggling to see the disconnect here. Is it has to be one of the two here. Was Monty Williams propped it up by Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns situation, or is Cade Cunningham and this young crew not up to snuff? It has to be one of the two. It can't be both.
I mean, but you like I'm watching this season, and I've seen Jaden Ivey in and out of the starting lineup like 4 or 5 times already. I've seen Asar Thompson in and out of the starting lineup a number of times already. I don't think he's doing a great job. I don't know why Killian Hayes was sitting there. Like, why are you still trying with Killian Hayes? Yeah. Like, what are you doing? And I think, maybe this is a classic, conundrum of a coach who's like, hey, listen, like, I don't need to see Jaden Ivey 30 minutes a night if he's not ready. I'm going to play Killian Hayes, who's like slightly, running the offense more like I want it, even though that's not what the front office wants. So I think that's the risk you run too when you bring in, a coach with some pedigree and you give him all that money, which kind of makes him unfireable, especially for the first couple seasons. And then you can't really hold him to the fire when you're like, hey, Like, get fucking Killian Hayes out of the starting lineup. Like, why? Like, why would we even do that right now? As far as like fire the GM, I mean, I don't know. Like, I go through this. I do think not trading Bogdanovich at the end of last year was probably a massive mistake because he doesn't want to be there. He's on a 2-win team right now. His value is less than it was last year, but still pretty high. I mean, they should definitely move him. But I think, like, if you were to put Bogdanovich on the trade market at the end of last season, you're maybe getting like 2 first-rounders for him, because people were desperate for that kind of player. So I think that's a little bit of a mistake. But when I look through the last few years, I mean, I think they drafted okay. Like Cade Cunningham was like, nobody scoffed at that draft pick. That was fine. Duran was fine. Ivy was fine. Ivy even dropped to them, right? Because they thought Ivy was going to go like 3 or 4, and then Kings take Keegan Murray, and Ivy almost like fell to them at 5. It almost seemed like a gift at the time. You know, Killian Hayes was like a 7 pick or something, but in a fairly thin draft. I mean, everybody missed on Halliburton anyway. So I don't really like kill the GM on that. I got to say, like, what I'm seeing right now with the kind of talent on that roster, I'm giving the most blame to Monty Williams at the moment. And shit, if they don't take one of the next 2 against Brooklyn, like Brooklyn's hit a ceiling. We don't have to get into the Nets right now. You know, I could talk about it all day long. But Brooklyn's hit a ceiling, and I could see Detroit taking 1 or 2 from this back-to-back coming up with the Nets. I do think it's going to stop. But if it doesn't with this Nets, like it could go easily to like 30, 35 games looking at the schedule.
Yeah, because then after there they go up to Boston, then they have the Raptors and the Rockets, and then back to the Jazz, and then it doesn't get any easier from there. So I think that this is way more of a statement about just how good the league is this year, top to bottom. I mean, you have teams like Orlando that are thriving, a team like Houston that was kind of dead last year that has had a resurgence here. So yeah, I think they're a good team, but maybe the NBA just got better. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but you also have within the first like month of the season a good like 6 teams who are fucking dead to rights already.
That's true.
You know.
That's true. And one of those was the Memphis Grizzlies, but they got their guy
Oh,
back.
we're going was now.
Was.
Okay.
Apparently now they're back.
Okay.
Apparently, according to John Morant, now the guys are playing with energy and they feed off my energy, and now we're back. That came true the other night when Ja got the game winner for them. A guy who came back from a suspension from the NBA, 25 game suspension. Grizzlies 6-19, so that's, like I said, but now they're back. But here, it gets kind of tricky to enjoy this John Morant return, in my opinion. Just given
you blew it.
Guy hasn't seemed to still learn. His teammates are kind of acting like, oh yeah, like they did you dirty. So have you been able to enjoy John Morant's game winner and his return for Memphis?
I enjoyed the game winner.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed watching him play in the fourth quarter like I always have. I love watching John Morant play basketball. It's awesome. It's an awesome experience. And he's maybe like in the top 3 of American-born basketball players that I'd like to watch these days. So that's never been the question. And I was expecting him to come back really bouncy. He hasn't played a game yet. Like, he doesn't have his wind, but like, he's bouncy. So that whole part, I'm rooting for it. I'm here for it. I like to see Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane kind of like, revitalized. Like, it's nice to see. And then the fucking kid opens his mouth again. Honestly, like, it's this whole like this woe is me thing with this dude. I just can't fucking get over. He's been doing it this whole time. And I think like someone like Adam Silver is probably just watching, being like, oh, game winner, great. And then just fuck. Because he's basically acting in a way that like these 25 games taught me nothing. I find them to be nothing but an injustice. Now, granted, it was long. It was long. You know what I mean? Like I'll take that. And I think like it was intentionally long to keep him out of the all NBA shit and to kind of punt Memphis's season. Like I think this was a real like finally Adam Silver like coming down on somebody to try to make a point. And shit, it failed. Listen to his fucking dad chatter away again, talking about how like, something dirty got done to him. And then, I got receipts and stuff like this. Like people have been, anything anybody has said in the last like few months is just like totally justified. And you're watching his team go in the fucking gutter. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. It immediately went from like a story of someone I can't wait to come back. I'm kind of rooting for Memphis to come back. I think this will be fun. Immediately to like kind of like, nah. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of still fuck this dude a little bit. Like Jesus.
And I've heard that people try to make this like the comparison to like AI and everything, and how people felt about Allen Iverson at the time that he was doing his thing. But there's like a big difference between like, like how you're like dressing and the commissioner coming down for you than like waving a gun on Instagram and then being like, oh, what because when they had his dad with my guys on NBA radio, shout out Justin Termini and Eddie Johnson, and he was like, what crime did he commit? And it's like, well, they're just maybe not a crime, but being stupid and not knowing the platform that you have.
Exactly. I mean, listen, like I said earlier in this thing, like I think 25 games was heavy for someone who like didn't hurt someone. You know what I mean? Didn't like I do. It is heavy, but still, like you gotta just eat fucking crow for like a little bit. And you did bring up Allen Iverson, and I was around when Allen Iverson played. I was already a fucking basketball junkie. He did have a similar thing in the sense that he was just like wildly unapologetic, and it aged well. But at the time, people fucking hated Allen Iverson. He did. He had like this fucking solid group of people who just like stand for AI hard. But then like seriously, we're coming out of like the Larry Bird motherfucker era. Like people hated Allen Iverson. There was a whole racial component to it. There was a whole thing. So I mean, it is somewhat in line. Like people don't know what to do with this guy. All we know is like when he's playing, he's that fucking good. And honestly, I mean, his ceiling, because of the way he does some other things on the court, and he's kind of a true point guard, is higher than Iverson's. He's a lot more like a prime Derrick Rose to me, like someone who has that kind of ceiling where he really can drag a team on his back, and he's that good. But you talk about like you come in and you're like, yeah, I just want to do it for the team and this and this and the team. I'm like, listen, regardless if 25 games was too much or not, you still had to serve them. And your team, when you came back, was fucking 6-19. And now they're 8-19. And yeah, sure, like there's some optimism there, but like you win your first 2 game back, good for you. But you're literally still 6 games out of the 10 seed to even get into the play-in. You're 8 games out of the actual playoffs. And you need to, in order to jump into the playoffs, you need one of the Golden State Warriors, the Lakers, the Suns, the Rockets, the Pelicans, the Mavericks to just completely tank and get beneath them. I just still don't see it happening. No. So I do think it's a nice story right now. You can get all chesty, but you're going to lose 3 games in a row in a couple weeks, and it's really going to put you out of the whole running. And, at some point, like, when are you just going to hear the right things? Like, I don't know. I don't know if you ever will. He's just might be that kind of guy, I guess.
And I don't think, you brought up how the Allen Iverson stuff aged very well. This not going to age well, especially if they want him and the next guy we're about to talk about to be the face of USA basketball. And that's right. Zion Williamson. And we had a story coming out of New Orleans this week about his contract. And people were stoked when the Pelicans were able to extend Zion Williamson's contract in July 2022. They're like, they finally secured their first-round pick. He's staying. The future looks great. But since then, Zion Williamson has missed significant chunks during his first 3 years in the NBA, including the entire 21 2022 season. As a result, we've had some changes in his contract based off of health. So let's kind of run through some of these real quick. Last season, Zion missed fewer. He needed to miss fewer than 23 games to avoid this for his 2025, 2026, 2027, those seasons. Those had become non-guaranteed because of how much time he missed last year. The interesting thing, Zion Williamson had to pass a weigh-in checkpoint during the 2024-2025 season, and his body fat percentage and his weight must add up to no more than 295. And then the season after that had to move to 20% for the next season. He has not met those. This goes back to stuff that we also talked about reputation of his being able to, quote, eat the table in New Orleans and stuff like that. So, Benny, what's going on with Zion here?
It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know. Like we talked about it a little last week and kind of compared it to Glenn Big Baby Davis. There is historical precedence for really talented guys who couldn't get out of their own way. But Glenn Big Baby Davis was never as talented as Zion. I mean, like we've watched Zion do physical things that are remarkable. Like when you first got into the league and you see a guy his size with that second bounce on offensive rebounds and stuff, you're like, whoa, where did that come from? And that's what's scaring me for Zion, is like that part of his game is seemingly dulled down. And when I'm watching a guy his size even go through the year getting as few rebounds as he does, as few blocks, not being an impact in like certain types of parts of the game, I'm not saying Zion's like a bad player and he's not going to have a place in the NBA. He certainly might, but we might start having to readjust his ceiling. And because of that, you're going to have to readjust his numbers. And New Orleans, in this case, I think, even though it sounds kind of shitty, because to put like fat guy stuff into someone's contract, like just makes me squirm a little, just like hearing about it. Cause I don't know, it just sucks. But you're a professional athlete and you're paid to be in shape and you're paid a lot of money. So I kind of get the knock on it too. So if I'm New Orleans and they have a lot of talent on that team. You have Trey Murphy dying for minutes, Dyson Daniels dying for minutes, like all these people dying for minutes, and Zion's still making a good impact, but is he making like a $25-30 million impact? I don't know. Like, does Zion have to change his game? Like would he be better served taking on more of a Draymond Green type of role, since he's not a great perimeter shooter, and really focusing on defense and rebounding and putting his body in the right places? But Draymond Green's one of the smartest players to ever grace the NBA. So I don't know if like Zion has that either. So I think it's a sad situation. But the one thing is, like, New Orleans is winning. Yeah. They're 5 games over 500. They're a good team. When Zion is out there with the full complement of Ingram and McCollum and Valanciunas, and Trey Murphy and all this great depth they have on the bench, you don't want to make a move. Like you still kind of are in a position where you want to hold out on this guy. You're not in a position where you have to like jump and make a big thing. So he's still young, and I think they're still going to try, like you can't give up on it yet. But I do think, as a fan, when you're watching him play most games this season and watching him fill up those minutes, I am starting to readjust my expectation on the ceiling of Zion Williamson.
And it is interesting, though, that he is able to win back some of this if he plays at least 41 games in the 2024-2025 season. It goes up 40%, becomes guaranteed. If he plays 51, it goes up to 60%. And If he plays 61, his entire salary becomes guaranteed. So it's not like they took it away and he can't get it back.
That's right.
But,
Neil chiming in saying the Eddie Lacy of the NBA. All right. Good comp.
I love it. Oh my goodness. I hate to see, just as a sidebar.
Yeah.
So the New Orleans Pelicans have these Crescent City jerseys that every team has.
Yeah.
The amount of photoshops on Instagram I had seen of Crescent Roll and then just Zion Williamson.
No.
Y'all are bad for that. But.
No, that's the thing that sucks about it is like the kind of problem Zion's dealing with is something like we still have so little sensitivity for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like another part of culture like we haven't caught up yet. You know, if 20 years ago some player wrote a tweet saying like I'm sad, he would have been called a sissy, you know, he would have been this. Now you'll get links for like mental health counseling and people will actually try to help you out. You know, like I do think I brought it up last time. I brought it that food to some people is a disease. It's a problem. It's a drug. And there's a lot of fucking companies and smart people out there, you know, creating something they call a bliss point to fucking fuck with your tongue and make you want the worst shit. So it's hard. What they're asking a guy, if he has a real addiction to food and a problem, it is hard. And I would love to see a little more compassion, you know, like when you look at this, like as an actual problem someone has. Because skinny guys just don't fucking get this. You know, they just walk by food, they leave plates half open. Like, you know, it's crazy. Why would you ever, you know?
And then Neil also chimes in with one more question. He was like, why is this any different than James Harden?
Oh, Neil. Because Zion doesn't have the step back three. Even when James Harden was fat, he could still push off and he could give you 8 threes in a game. He's got quick hands. Zion's whole thing, it falls apart if he's too big. But I love that. I love that. James Harden did have a couple. He usually gets fat when he's trying to play his way out of a city. Like that's
Zion very much wants to stay there.
Harden does it on purpose. He's just like, oh fuck it, I want out of Philly. Call Papa John's.
Between this and Ja, you know, I think the narrative, you know, the Allen Iverson comparison, right? We're like that age better over 20 years.
Yeah.
This fighting for Zion Williamson, that's going to age better over 20 years.
It is. Free Zion. Free Zion from New Orleans. Get him. This is the trick. You do have to trade him. Yeah. What city in the NBA is the worst fucking food? Because New Orleans has the best.
Yeah. Maybe. So, he needs to be in LA, man. He needs sweet green twice a day. He needs green juices. He needs yoga, man. He needs to go to Richard Jefferson's yoga studio.
But remember, you're always 3 blocks away from the best fucking burrito you've ever had.
That's true. Or
it's
burger.
Dangerous. It's dangerous.
Or Portland, maybe.
Yeah,
Portland?
maybe the Northwest. Yeah, I think you eat the best in the Northwest.
But then you got Voodoo Donuts. I don't know. Anywhere in the Midwest is out.
Yeah. It's tough. It's just tough.
Charlotte.
Barbecue.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
And he's close to
somewhere in Florida, maybe. Let's get him on some fish.
But then we get him down there in South Beach, and he's eating all that Cuban food. You know, this is more
Orlando. He needs to go to Orlando.
Don Shula's Steakhouse.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of this.
Let's preview Christmas Day real quick.
Please.
We got a couple matchups here. We have Bucks at New York Knicks. This will be the 56th time the Knicks have played on Christmas Day, dating back to 1947. You have Giannis coming in at an MVP level once again, averaging 30.6 points, 11.1 rebounds, and also having Damian Lillard. And then Jalen Brunson's going to have a lot to deal with. So Bucks, Knicks at noon. I like this one a lot.
Oh, I love this game. The Knicks are rolling. Bucks are rolling. This is and they're like the heavyweight teams of the East that are gonna like to body up and bit around. But Giannis is on a damn mission right now, and I could see him popping into the Garden and putting up a nice 40. I think this is like, you know, I know you didn't want to hear it a few weeks ago when I told you the Bucks are putting it together, but they're putting it together, and I think this might be a nice kind of come out publicly game. Like, hey, we're still here. By Lillard and Giannis really showing out at the Garden.
So you think that this could be the equivalent of when, you know, Giannis dunked all over MSG and that kind of put him on the map? This could be the, you know, the Dame Giannis version of getting himself on the map.
Yeah, I think we undervalue that about Giannis. He is a competitive motherfucker.
That's true.
And he does not like the fact that the popular conception early in the season was that the Bucks are no longer the contender to the Celtics and the and the Sixers. So yeah,
Now,
Giannis, he's going nuts.
if only Adrian Griffin and Joe Prunty could just get out of his way. That'd be cool.
All right, what else?
All right. We have a matchup of the last two NBA champions, Golden State Warriors at Denver Nuggets. Jokic on MVP pace yet again. Chris Paul will be back on Christmas Day, coming off the bench for Golden State. But it's Jamal Murray. But it's if Jamal Murray is a point guard, that's what we're talking about. It will be a Merry Christmas for Nuggets fans. Benny, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I think, it's a Steph game.
Yeah.
I'm not ruling Steph out in a game like this. Like, sure, on paper, I'd like to say Draymond's still out. Warriors are going to choke it, but Steph Curry's on the Warriors. And Steph Curry is a superstar, and he plays on Christmas, and he's probably going to do something crazy. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think Denver takes in the end, but Curry's going to make it interesting.
Big game for the Jokic brand here. Obviously there's like the finals, but playing on Christmas, that's a big one. He has a brand new hotels.com commercials out where he's at the Roosevelt in Hollywood walking around with a goat.
You notice he's dressing better this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's looking sharp. I'm liking his sweaters and the overcoats. Like he's putting it together. Jokic knows how to be a superstar now.
You put the wife on camera once during the finals, and she's like, honey, we got to do better.
We got to get this together.
All right.
Come on. Your hair's bad enough. Let's get the clothes right.
Celtics at Lakers, 5 p.m. on Christmas, the latest installment of the NBA's greatest rivalry. This is just the third time the Lakers have met on Christmas and the first since 2008. LeBron James and the Lakers coming off their in-season tournament win, but the Boston Celtics, man, East leading 21-6. Absolute dream for a Christmas matchup. Benny, what do you like here?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Boston's going to win. And I think they're trying to make a statement. And the reason I think that, though, is like I hate this matchup for the Lakers backcourt. This has nothing to do with LeBron or Anthony Davis. White and Holiday are turning into kind of the smartest and kind of, I don't know, just they're fucking with people. They're fucking with dumb teams. And I don't want to see what D'Angelo Russell looks like when these two get their hands on him. So I have a feeling Boston's going to come in and take this one.
76ers traveling down the South Beach to play at 8 p.m. Eric Spoelstra has never lost on Christmas Day, 8-0 career all time. And the Heat are historically 11-2 on Christmas, highest winning percentage of any team. Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, eyes on Tyrese Maxey, trying to create a big problem on the Christmas stage. Benny, what do you like here?
Another good game. I mean, Miami is tough to predict right now because, how many games this year have seen, Hero, Bam, and Butler on the floor at the same time, so it's a little tough to determine, but fucking Embiid is rolling. And yeah, I like the Sixers on the back end of this game.
I love it too. Wrapping out the day, Mavericks at Phoenix Suns, 10:30 p.m. The NBA closes out it with Luka, with Kyrie, with Kevin Durant, with Devin Booker. All the star power fit the print. And maybe a potential Southwest-ish rivalry. Benny, what do you like here? 10:30.
This is like a classic. I think we're gonna see. I don't think Kyrie's playing. Like he's been out, and he might come back for this game. I'm not quite sure. Obviously that plays a huge factor in who wins this game. But to me, I think we're going to see like Luka play like 45 minutes and put up one of his like 42, 14, and 16, and they're still going to lose. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, it's a great to see. It's a big Kevin Durant Christmas spotlight game. Yeah. I love seeing him on the holidays.
I don't think we're getting Kyrie. Beal's still out. Like this isn't the full picture. I kind of like the early games on Christmas a little better.
10:30 is always the okay. I've been a little bit overserved, and now let me sleep game.
Now I'm stuffed. I'll fall asleep by the second quarter. Yeah.
From a fantasy basketball perspective, love the fact that Christmas is on Monday. Great way to start the week rather than close out this week's matchups on Sunday.
That's right. Strus coming in hot.
Oh, man. All right, Benny, before we get out of here real quick, there's a couple of cultural stories that we got to get into today.
Please, come on.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
We're cultural guys.
Jake Gyllenhaal is taking a tip from the late, great Patrick Swayze and bringing a brand new Braun to the Roadhouse, I guess you can call it franchise, right? And
Now.
Amazon sizzle reel released on Thursday included a glimpse at Gyllenhaal as in Roadhouse, a remake of the 1989 action movie that we have been highly speculative over the years here at the Tune Up. Benny, luckily for you, the good folks at Amazon came over to us and were like, hey, do you want a little sneak peek at it? And I was like, absolutely, 100%.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos, thank you for this. And
Thanks,
here
Jeff.
it is.
Oh, I just slapped you. Are you all right?
Shut out to 7 seconds or less right here. But shout out to that, I guess. I don't know. Listen, this is what I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was going to bring to the role, and I don't like it.
Oh, okay. So there's a little bit to unpack here, right? Roadhouse means a lot to me.
Yeah.
There might be only 5 movies I've ever seen more than Roadhouse. So one thing we have to remember, and we go through this a lot when we deal with remakes, Roadhouse was not taken seriously when it came out. We have to remember that. We always go back in time and think like, oh, but Swayze and it's so much fun. No, it was silly. It was silly even then. The adults knew it.
Mm-hmm.
People who are going to see Coppola movies were not like taking in Roadhouse and actually caring. So that's the first thing to consider, is the fact that like I don't need the new Roadhouse to be legitimate. It needs to be fun, right? Like step number 1. Now, you hear about the story here, and Gyllenhaal is like a retired UFC fighter who goes to Florida Keys and becomes a bouncer. Now, that's like the Florida Keys thing I like because, you had a pretty funny version of a redneck in the original Roadhouse, like Big Boy with the fucking overalls and that whole thing going on in that movie, because you were out in like the dusty plains. So now you're going to get like
Florida man,
shitty Florida dudes, you know what I mean, getting beat up. Like it's going to be really easy to create like a villain and an evil side that you really want to get this shit kicked out of.
Yeah.
Which is a trick to an action movie. So you have the heels all set. You got a fucking bunch of Florida dudes, which is going to be easy to watch get beat up. Gyllenhaal clearly knows how to fight, right? Like he learned how to box for Southpaw. He takes in UFC stuff. He trains. So I think the actual remember, Patrick Swayze was not a fighter. Patrick Swayze was a dancer.
A lover.
He's a dancer and a lover and like a theater guy. Like Patrick Swayze played tough because he was jacked and he was good at that. But there's a whole nother side to it. So this is where I'm hoping, since Gyllenhaal has proven himself as a very capable actor over the years, he takes a lot of funky stuff, but he also has put in a lot of really, really great performances over the years. And I hope he's smart enough to bring the romance of Dalton. You know what I mean? That is what I need to see in the new Roadhouse. If I don't have one scene of him eating an apple and reading a book on his own, shirtless, I'm not pleased. If I don't see him really romancing, if he doesn't say be nice, and if he's a total just over the top tough guy and doesn't take on this romantic theatrical side of Patrick Swayze, then I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
But I think the setup to the movie looks good. And the big caveat to me is Gyllenhaal going to be sexy enough.
He's not.
Because that's a big part of Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Big part of
Roadhouse. And the one thing that I think the producers and Amazon are discrediting, you need this to crush with 18 to 35 women. And because of the whole Taylor Swift stuff, because Gyllenhaal had the thing with Taylor Swift, she wrote a 10-minute song about how much Jake Gyllenhaal sucks. They lost 18 to 35.
So he's the heel. He's the heel already.
Yeah. So
maybe he's just going full heel in the movie.
He should have been the actual bad guy in the movie. But the problem is you can't replace Patrick Swayze. 101, they broke the mold when they made him, right?
That's
so
right.
Anybody, you think of the younger actors that could come to this. You think of a Jake Jacob Elordi, who's having his moments, stuff like that. But nobody kind of brings the sensitivity that you mentioned. There's nobody out there doing it today. Maybe that's where you, Benny, can come in and be like.
And this is what this is why, to me, yes, I will take the job, by the way. But this is where, to me, the jury is still out, because as Neil mentions, Gyllenhaal, and like I said, he has a precedence.
It's true.
Of good films. You know what I mean? He has a precedence of going places we don't expect him to go. So maybe he knows to get romantic here, like I hope so. I hope so.
Me too. All right, let's bring this thing home. This Christmas episode, this holiday special of we like to do oddities from time to time.
Oh yeah.
One Kentucky family, speaking of like Roadhouse country, one Kentucky family got a little something extra when they picked up their Christmas tree this year. There was an owl in it, and then the owl was in the home for about 4 days, which is unbelievable. That how you don't notice that as you're putting up ornaments or lights and stuff like that. But Benny, I wanted to use this as an opportunity to talk trees. Well,
yeah.
First off, where do you stand on the great mahogany? Do you want to? I had to do it as soon as you took the drink. Great mahogany of the Christmas tree. Do you like it living or do you like it fake?
This is interesting. So now, as we discussed earlier, I'm a good sport Jew on Christmas. Give me a tree, give me the stuff, let's do it. And one of the things that really bothered me when I first got into this was like, wait, I love all this stuff, but I do believe trees are living things, and we're murdering one to have it live in our house and dress it up for like 3 weeks and then throw it out. I do go to Ben from Dillinger Escape Plan's house, and I feed my old trees to his goats now. So at least they go to a good place afterwards. But, after a lot of research, buying a fake tree filled with metals and plastics and things like that are no better for the environment than reharvesting trees year after year. And I did attempt to replant a Christmas tree. So I am such a hippie that I did buy a potted Christmas tree, dressed it up, and attempted to keep it alive and put it back outside. The thing they don't tell you is this doesn't really work in New Jersey because it's cold. So the only way that really actually flies is if, you literally have a tree in your house for like 2 days, and then you happen to have a week in late December where you can still get something in the ground, which is pretty fucking hard. So, I do buy trees now. There you go, Neil. Sorry. I do buy trees now, and I try to buy them from places that, we know that they're replanting and regenerating. There's a lot of farms that you can get the promise that that this is a sustainable practice. So I have given in to using a live tree.
Neil, I'm sorry to break this to you. I am fake all the way. I'm going to have a tinder box in my house. I am not going to have to go to like the rest of my neighbors if I'm the one responsible for trying to burn down the neighborhood. There are row houses here. I could let all of Jersey City ablaze. And every time I see somebody walking down the street with their thing, I'm just like, I hope your house isn't connected to this one, because there are too many irresponsible people for us to be having live trees in 2023, 2024.
Usually the people on the street carrying trees, it should be, you have blood on your hands.
Yeah, exactly. You're killing the environment.
You're killing them. The city's a whole different bag of nuts, man. Like even the fact that like trying to get a bevy of fucking pine needles out of your house when you live in the city is a much different prognosis. So I completely agree with you in the city. It's not the worst idea.
Plus, my dad was a firefighter, so we never had a real tree growing up.
Have you had many cautionary tales of Christmas trees catching on fire? Is this why?
Not us, but I mean, like when you go to as many fires of Christmas trees catching on fire, like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is not as far-fetched as a lot of people would like you to believe. So
yeah, and that was just a cat. Now we know that there's owls in there. So fuck.
So yeah, lifetime in the safety service business growing up, it gets in your head. But
What
what
can
can
I
you
say?
do?
I like to live on the edge, baby.
That's right. All right. Plenty of ways to get in contact with the show. You can email us at thetuneuppodcast@gmail.com. 2P's in there. We missed out on so many stories today. And the entertainment sphere, it's dying. Paramount, that whole thing's going away.
Who
We had
cares?
Roman Empire remains dug up today. Maybe that would have been interesting.
We'll get to it next
But
time.
if you want to not miss out on any of the stuff that we're talking about, you can subscribe to the Tune Up YouTube channel at Tune Up HQ. Follow us on all the social platforms at the Tune Up HQ, Twitter, Instagram, all of it. If you want to follow the big man, he is at Benny Horowitz. Ben, you got anything else?
Everybody, love everybody. A lot of shit going on in the world. Try to enjoy your people for a couple days. It's important. And yeah, let's put love out into the world.
Spreading cheer for all to hear. The show has ended. Go in peace. You have been listening to and watching the Tune Up.
Bye, Neil.